Welcome to V2. Welcome everybody. Welcome to V2, and it's a pleasure of welcoming you to this special edition of Test Lab, the graduation edition of 2017. My name is Florian Weigel, and I work here as curator. The selection we made tonight is carefully made by me and Michel van Dartel, the other curator, in close collaboration with teachers from universities all over Europe. And it's also really about what's happening throughout on all the universities, what's a certain interesting topic, what's a trend in it, so you can see it, not as much as the best of all the European graduates, but trends we're addressing.
Legion, legend, sign, learning, learned, lauded, defrauded, definite, deficient, deficit, dominant, double, derby, barrister, bannister.
Yeah, it's a 2-hour loop. Basically, these are excess recordings. I made a record earlier in the year, which is part of this kind of ongoing game that I've been doing. Basically, this text that you hear is a list of words that each word should lead to the word before or word after it by sound association. So breath, breathe, broth, both, etc. But it's something I've been doing for several years now. So these paravents are they're from a design by Eileen Gray, who's a Irish architect. She made them while she was living in France in the 50s. And I came across this while I was doing the research, and I had this very strong feeling that they somehow fill a role somewhere between a body and a piece of architecture. And so I wanted to make them to see if this theory from the image held up. And the idea is these become like a kind of fill-in for the body. Now there's no performers present. We have the voice, and then we have these just dumb bodies that sort of take all of the information. But because the way the phone works, it sort of sucks information in, and it's very unclear how much information it retains. We don't know.
I made 3 narrative films and 1 context film. So context film is on this small screen, so which depict what the society looks like. And so the narrative films depict how ex-offender struggle and cope with the society and the law. And these object props for films. Even now, it's this kind of things is happening in the world. Like after prison, even if they were in a prison for several years, they have to wear GPS tracker on their ankle, and also their information is online, like where they live or something like that. So I just questioning, is it fair or not? Because they served sentence for several years. So I don't know. So yeah, that's my starting point to ask people about this issue. Yeah.
This work is called Arachnes Sonifier, and it's essentially a spiderweb player. So it plays spiderwebs by translating them out into MIDI notes. So I go out in nature and I collect them. I try to collect extinct webs, so ones that spiders aren't using anymore, which you can tell when you've gone out spiderweb hunting quite a lot. So the system that I have is that when this flashlight's on, and you put it into the stand,
Feel free to come closer if you...
Yeah, really come close. Then it casts a shadow on the other side, which has holes in it holding phototransistors. And then the phototransistors come out of the other side and feed out into a teensy board, which then I've connected through a MIDI output. And the MIDI output connects to a system that I have with 2 different Korgs. I'm very interested in organic and ephemeral material and developing interfaces that you can engage with these invisible processes that happen in nature or these things that disappear, and finding ways of recording them that reflect the objects themselves as opposed to imposing a human narrative to them. What is it playing live without me touching it? It's all battery operated. So then I can create loops off of that, where then I can start manipulating it, so now I'm playing the web.
Yeah, this work is about performative practice, because I was very interested in the rise of automation and how it's sort of increasingly replacing the need for humans in our day-to-day life. So I was sort of imagining a future that's not too far off, where there is no jobs anymore, and I guess you could extend that to the arts as well. So I came up with an idea for a performance piece and then outsourced it to a machine which I made. So it's slightly, the belt's meant to be moving, but basically ink comes up from this barrel here, and then is dropped onto this sheet of vinyl, and then parts of it are hydrophobic and parts of it are not, so the ink gets sorted into shapes. And the idea is that it then ends up onto the slide, and then you can see that it ends up back to chaos on the floor. So yeah.
So you're saying it's automating this procedure, but is that a performance that you would do yourself, or how did you come up with this performance? Because you in the end came up with the performance, or was it also automated?
I came up with the performance before I built the machine, but obviously there's parts of the performance that you would need a machine for, like obviously like the belt moving and the ink coming up. But the original idea of the performance to like pour ink onto a sheet of treated vinyl and then the ink to flow into the shapes, that was something I was originally going to do myself before I automated it. So.
And who is doing a better job?
Probably at the moment not the machine, but usually the machine.
I'm using sound and light to modulate water, and with that I create shapes, and my initial purpose was to materialize signals, because I wanted to study signals in a bit more intuitive way. So what I made is something that pumps water around, and I move the water stream with those two speakers, and there's some light there that blinks at frequencies that's related to the sounds that I'm playing. Yeah. Maybe it makes way more sense to turn it around, give the floor to you to do the performance, and open up the floor for questions afterwards. If
maybe
that's
I just
switch
it on, right?
Good. And I want to ask the lady at the door to close the curtain, so we have completely darkness here. I'll repeat it for the ones who didn't hear it. If you're sensitive to flickering light, the last part would be something to turn away from.